Satishan over there. Back to you, Priya.
All right, Anand, with that, I would like to thank you for sharing all of those details very comprehensively with us. On that note, viewers, we're shifting focus away from Kerala towards the Nordic countries. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has now stated that his recent visit to Sweden has resulted in several key outcomes aimed at strengthening the India-Sweden bilateral equation. Prime Minister Modi has stated that ties between the two countries have been elevated to a strategic partnership, along with the launch of the Joint Innovation Partnership 2.0 and the India-Sweden Technology and Artificial Intelligence Corridor. He has also highlighted an ambitious target to double bilateral trade in the next 5 years and has thanked the people and government of Sweden as well as Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson for their warmth and friendship. There have been 6 crucial outcomes of this particular visit by Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Sweden. These have all been spelled out in the MEA readout that had come earlier in the day. We had in fact seen out of the 6 outcomes, elevation of ties to a strategic partnership, the Joint Innovation Partnership 2.0, development of a tech and AI corridor, as well as doubling of bilateral economic exchange, trade and investment in the next 5 years, the development of India-Sweden SME and startup platform, as well as the institution of Tagore Sweden lecture series of Vikas B, Virasat B. So these are the 6 outcomes. Sweden has of course also expressed interest in partnering with India on India's upcoming Venus orbiter mission, the Shukran. Sweden is looking at providing a scientific instrument on the same. The Swedish Institute of Space Physics is supplying the Venusian Neutrals Analyzer, a payload designed to study how solar winds interact with Venus's atmosphere. With me on the broadcast is my colleague Aditya Wadhwan. Aditya, of course, Prime Minister Modi and his visit to Sweden has been extremely fruitful. We've had 6 concrete outcomes, specifically in the technology sector, specifically in also elevating ties to a strategic partnership.
Full trip of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Sweden, and there were several MOUs have been signed between the two sides in the domain of defense, and definitely in the times to come we could expect a robust collaboration as far as this is concerned. Yes, thank you.
All right, there seems to be trouble connecting with Aditya, but we now have visuals coming in of Prime Minister Narendra Modi emplaning for Oslo. He's headed to Norway. This is of course part of his ongoing official visit to Europe. Prime Minister Modi is travelling to attend the 3rd India-Nordic Summit scheduled in Oslo on the 19th of May, where discussions will focus on strengthening India's engagement with Nordic countries. In focus particularly with Norway are of course defense ties, energy security in particular, considering the fact that it's a Nordic country, and green energy at large as well. My colleague Shivani Singh joins us on the broadcast to share further details. Shivani, we've seen extremely fruitful visits of the Prime Minister to the UAE, to the Netherlands, Sweden, and now he's heading for Norway. On agenda, we do know energy ties in focus, green energy in particular, artificial intelligence, semiconductors. What more can you share with our viewers?
Like you rightly mentioned, these are some of the key areas that India will look to expand given the scenarios that the world is actually facing. So semiconductors, we are looking at technological advancement, we are looking at green energy like you said. We completed our visit in the Netherlands, that was a green energy hub. Now we are off to Norway. And remember, Priya, that this is after 43 years that the Prime Minister will be landing in Norway, an Indian Prime Minister landing in Norway after 43 years. So obviously this is a major moment for the Indian diplomatic calendar as well. And this is a long break that has now come to an end, and obviously we'll look at trade, technology exchange, and also collaboration between both the nations. Now, this visit actually comes on the invitation of the Norwegian Prime Minister, and India will in fact strengthen the engagement with the Nordic countries through this visit. Remember, like you talked about, PM Modi will reach Oslo with a very packed schedule that includes bilateral talks and also meetings with Norwegian royal family, and also participation in business and research talks. So that also marks a major shift how these high-level talks and royal engagements will be taking place. So, like you mentioned, a wide range of issues that are going to be discussed that include trade, climate action, because Norway seems to be leading the world in the climate change path, and also emerging technologies. So we are going to see talks based on that. Now, remember that the Norwegian Prime Minister and Prime Minister Narendra Modi are expected to also take part in the India-Norway Business and Research Summit. Now, these are places where talks will concentrate on investment opportunities, on innovation and cooperation in sectors associated to the blue economy. So these are some of, in fact, the focus areas that India might be looking at. But remember, apart from this, we are also going to see, how they are going to work together on carbon capture, on offshore wind energy, sustainable marine resources under the blue economy model, and also space sector. That's one of the major points that India will be looking at in Norway. They want cooperation in the space sector, and the Indian Space Research Organization has in fact installed antennas in Norway. So this has been completed in 2026, and now this project has actually strengthened communication capabilities for India's space missions, and this is expected to open new opportunities for joint work in space technologies. Back to you, Pia.
Absolutely, Shivani, you have mentioned business is also one of the key thrusts, and India is in fact looking at capitalizing upon the already operational India EFTA Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement. Remember, this was signed on 10th March 2024. It entered into force on 1st October last year, and it commits $100 billion in foreign direct investment from EFTA nations into India over 15 years, and to create 1 million direct jobs. So this is of course one of the other crucial aspects of Prime Minister Modi's visit to Norway. But before of course he lands in Norway, we all remember he was honored in Sweden with the Royal Order of the Pale Star. On that note, let's take a look at all the awards